This is Goddess of Science Biology, and I'm Mrs. Bolden. And we're going to do the last three parts, three stages of cellular respiration. We're going to talk about those today in part two of cellular respiration, which is part of the cellular energy series. Okay, so we talked about stage one, which was glycolysis, anaerobic, doesn't require any oxygen. Everything from here on out does require oxygen in order for it to happen. So stage two is kind of, we take the products of glycolysis, which is 2-pyruvate, we zhuzh them up a little bit so that they can go on to the next stage. We don't really get any energy out of this. So we take the 2-pyruvates from glycolysis, which are going to enter the link reaction. So you got a 3-carbon pyruvate, you get two of those. Ends up with two carbon acetylcholine A and a little bit of carbon dioxide. So the net product from the link reaction for each glucose that enters the first stage is you get 2 acetyl-CoAs, which are going to end up going to the next stage, which is kind of producing the raw materials that we need for the fourth stage. We got 2 NADHs, which are energy carriers, basically, and those are going to go on to the fourth stage, which is the electron transport chain. And we get a couple of carbon dioxides. Okay, next stage, stage 3 is of the Krebs cycle, is also called the citric acid cycle. And what you're looking at here is just one turn of this. Now remember, you have 2 pyruvate or 2 acetyl-CoAs that are entering here. So the first one goes in, goes around, the second one goes in, goes around. So what you're looking at here is just one turn, but actually for each glucose that enters cellular respiration, it has to make 2 turns around this wheel. So requires 2 turns with each starting glucose. So acetyl-CoA enters, and what you get out the other end are, per glucose that enters, you get a couple of ATP, not really great. 4 carbon dioxides, great. We can always use more of that, not. You get 8 NADH molecules, which end up going to the next stage. That's raw material for the very last stage. And you get 4 FADH2s, which also go to the last stage, which is really the money stage, because that's where we're going to get all of our ATP. So speaking of the last stage, stage 4 is electron transport chain in a process called chemiosmosis. And this occurs in the inner membrane of the mitochondria. So the mitochondria has this outer membrane, and then it has this little foldy thing inside here. It looks like a little membrane origami going on there. That's where this reaction is happening. So this was our Krebs cycle that we just talked about, and these are the products of the Krebs cycle. So now we're going to feed those in here, and it just kind of gets passed from one molecule to the next. Hydrogens go in, go out, go in, go out, go in, and then finally stuff happens. And that's really general, I know, but believe me, there's a lot of details and I don't have time to teach it to you. You get the hydrogen, there ends up being more hydrogen outside than inside. So hydrogen obviously wants to go from where there's lots to where there's not very much. And the only place that it can go is through this thing that looks like a butternut squash. That's an enzyme called ATP synthase. And as the hydrogen goes through there, it uses that energy carried with the hydrogen to make some ATP. So electrons from the NADH and FADH2 get fed in here, and then they get passed through, and finally it gets down to the chemiosmosis machine, which actually makes 32 ATPs. That's a lot. So electron transport chain at the end results in 32 ATPs. You get 24 from electron transport, you get 6 from NADH, you get 2 from FADH2. So the grand total of all the ATPs produced by cellular respiration from one glucose is 36 ATPs. theoretically. And I say theoretically because it's, if everything is working great, you get 36 out there. But there are always some conditions that occur, some variables in the reactions that change the rate of reaction. We're not really going to worry too much about those, but just realize that 36 is our goal. Usually cells don't get there. So where do these 36 come from? 2 come from glycolysis, 2 come from the Krebs cycle, and 32 ATPs come from the electron transport chain and chemiosmosis. That's our butternut squash engine. So that gives us a grand total of 36 ATPs. Okay, that's it for this time. Thanks for joining me. Have a great day.